Hey, does anyone remember Outrun 2? The arcade sequel to Outrun that actually had a number 2 in it? Well, here's more of that, so have fun. Yep. Outrun 2006 Coast to Coast, released in 2006 for Xbox. The first one. Also available for PS2 as well as PSP, which we've sampled previously ages ago. Outrun 2006 is less a sequel and more of an update to the previously released Outrun 2 that was originally an Xbox exclusive if you want to pretend there was no arcade version to port this from, which I do, so shut up. Now, if you're at all familiar with Outrun, it's a classic Sega arcade game. Coast to Coast is pretty much old hat. You pick a car, you drive down some streets without crashing, you run into forks that split into two paths, each taking you to a different direction, and your ultimate goal is to reach the end of the road before time runs out. That's the basic premise of Outrun in the regular arcade mode, and with Outrun 2006 you're given a choice between the Outrun 2 or Outrun 2 SP tracks. The latter being a different set of tracks for you to race in, but largely conforms to Outrun 2 standards. That sounded better on paper, but whatever. There are other modes of play as well, your usual self-explanatory time attack and the heart attack mode, where you try to impress your lady with some sweet driving skills or get a scolding. But there's also Coast to Coast, formerly known as Outrun Challenge, where you are given over 100 missions to complete, each comprising different objectives, whether it be passing rivals or getting points or finishing first or whatever the case may be. As you play through and complete missions and such, you'll earn Outrun miles, which will allow you to purchase items from the showroom to unlock, whether it be music tracks, cars, or other such things. Basically, this is where the main meat of these home ports lie, in completing these various challenges and earning enough miles to unlock these extra bits. Because that's what you did back in the day. You did the hard grind for hours on end just so you could get a few measly miles to buy a different paint job for your car. Nowadays, they charge you $20 for that same paint job. But for those who'd want to play right now, there's an option to Just Drive, which jumps you straight into a random game of Outrun, and you could work from there to avoid all those pesky load times. There's also System Link multiplayer for those who have multiple Xboxes and copies of Outrun 2006 to fiddle around with. And at one point there was also online Outrun, but those days are seemingly long gone, so never mind. The driving in Outrun 2006 is fairly consistent with that of the previous game, which is to say, it's pretty damn slick. Now, anyone getting into this expecting any semblance of realism or authentic driving, what's wrong with you? Seriously? Anyway, control feels pretty good and is generally smooth for the most part. The default analog stick offers that nice bit of precision that the D-pad can't offer, though it's obviously no steering wheel replacement, which is always ideal if you could find such a gimmick. The drifting mechanic seems to work well enough, at least, well, not with me anyway, but drifting was never really my thing in any of these games. A bit of a failing on my part, but in fairness, I seem to have more luck with it here than anywhere else, so I guess that's a net positive, I suppose. In any event, the actual driving bits hold up fairly well, the challenges are fun diversions, and while this version drops the original Outrun from its list of hidden goodies, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Outrun 2006 has more than enough to it to stand on its own. And much like its predecessor, Outrun 2006 absolutely shines in the visual presentation. I've mentioned that Outrun 2 was one of the most visually splendid games to grace the original Xbox, really taking advantage of the console's advanced hardware, and this updated version is no exception. It looks just as good as the previous game. I don't want to say better because that'd be a bit of a fib, but that's okay because it's still a tremendous looking game. Again, the car models look slick, the various locales are rich in detail and texture, the shift in terrain is almost seamless, nothing looks broken, the frame rate is really silky smooth, lighting is top notch, and the fog effects and draw distance is nice. Not much else to say in this regard, it's still one of the better looking Xbox titles. Sound department is also top notch material. You have a number of tracks that you can play in the background, most of them variations of pre-existing Outrun tunes like Splash Wave or Magical Sound Shower. But there's also a couple new tunes in there for those who care for that sort of thing, and Coast to Coast adds a few more tracks onto the playlist for good measure. Sound effects are also nice. High quality sounds where car engines sound like car engines, and environmental sounds are exactly that. Your screeching tires, your high impacts, your nagging passenger. Nagging passenger is the only real negative. 0 for 3 at this point, but par for the course, I suppose. Overall, Outrun 2006 Coast to Coast is a game that seems like it's just Outrun 2 with a new set of stages and some extra bits, but there's more than enough minor tweaks, changes, and new features that it does feel like something of a substantial upgrade over the previous game. Most importantly, however, this remains a tremendous arcade racer that looks incredibly slick for its day and plays great. It's basically more Outrun 2, which is not a bad thing to have. They should bring this game back one of these days. I think it's long overdue.